This video is brought to you by Sony. Learn what happens when artists meet engineers.
Hey guys, what's up? This is Roth and Chris here to talk a little House of Cards.
It's a Valentine's Day present to us.
I know, it's coming out tomorrow, which is Valentine's Day. Very, very excited. The second season of the series is coming out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Netflix has already renewed it for a third season, so obviously they're behind the show.
And the thing is that Netflix doesn't really release their ratings, so we don't know how well it's doing, but we know how well it's doing.
They're so sneaky.
It's doing gangbusters, and Netflix is obviously doing really, really well.
Yeah, it better be doing gangbusters because they spent $100 million on the first two seasons, but you know what? It was well worth it, and let's talk about why. I think that there are a million reasons to watch this show, but we're kind of condensing them down to 5 bite-sized ones, and the first one is probably the most obvious, which is performance.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin Spacey is just amazing. And, you know, Netflix kind of set history when they got nominated for Emmys and so forth. It's just...
And Robin Wright won a Golden Globe.
Yeah, I mean, it's just... It is a series that is worthy of, you know, being broadcast anywhere, and it was a game changer for Netflix, and that's why it's... Kevin Spacey's amazing. Everybody's amazing. You don't even have to break it down by person.
Yeah.
Everybody in the show does a great job.
Yeah, obviously, everybody on the show does a great job. We knew he would be. You know, he doesn't sort of phone in performances ever, and he is taking the lead. But I think one of the things that surprised me is I think this is the best role I've ever seen for Robin Wright. And yes, I'm including The Princess Bride, though I love that movie.
Well, I mean...
this is really a complicated relationship, and that's the second reason, is that the relationship between Frank and Claire, this core kind of, she's sort of Lady Macbeth, but he's not Macbeth because he's not easily manipulated. They're both in on it together. They respect one another as manipulators and Machiavellian.
I think the key to their relationship is respect, and sort of, they have that sort of thing going on that I think is very difficult for couples to achieve because of jealousy and so forth. Like, they operate kind of as individuals, and then they operate as a unit.
Absolutely.
And it's really kind of interesting to see that dynamic play out, and I think it's one of the most interesting things of the show. I mean, obviously there's all kinds of like political craziness going on at every moment in time, but their relationship is at the core of a lot of it.
Absolutely, and I think you're right. The jealousy does not come into play. They actively know that the other is sleeping with other people.
Yep.
But
and kind of are fine with it, but it seems like it's kind of not.
But kind of not, and that's what kind of makes it complex and interesting. There's real emotions. There is a team in play, and they are really, really ruthless. They're fun to watch. So the third reason, and again, this is probably an obvious one, is just the overall production quality is astounding.
So great.
So many shows now are saying, oh, we're a 13-hour movie, but this is...
I was just going to make that point. I was like, I really feel like shows like this and True Detective are actually out there making you feel like you're watching cinema quality stuff on a week in, week out basis. And this I almost called it a movie. This series is just amazing. You can experience it like a movie because you can watch it all at once, which is really, I think it makes it special because it's the first sort of series that you get all in one shot like that, of this kind, you know, this kind of drama where it's like, if you want to binge watch it from day one, you can do it. And
which is exactly what I did.
And if you haven't seen it, you should go out and binge watch it. I mean, if you're a fan of drama or Kevin Spacey or anything with politics, or if you're just a fan of like really good performances, really like high tension situations, it delivers on all those fronts.
Absolutely, and it's beautiful. I mean, listen, Beau Willimon, who's the writer for the series, he's a playwright. He is just so good at what he does. He crafts these characters so beautifully, and I think it's partially his theatrical background, but then what you've got David Fincher coming in with this beautiful visual aesthetic, and he established that in the very first episode. Other people came in to direct, but he was right there. I interviewed Beau Willimon, and he said that David Fincher was right there throughout the editorial process, making sure that that high quality, that cinematic quality that he had established initially remained. I think it's the combination of that great visual background that David Fincher has and the strong background in dialogue that Beau Willimon has that makes the show so great.
Yeah, there are people who compare it to Mamet, but I think in some ways it's a lot.
I don't think it's like Mamet.
I think it's a lot more elegant actually than Mamet. I think Mamet is kind of like a blunt tool, and this is a little bit more like, it's a little bit more deft touch to it. So it's just a great pedigree for this show, and you know.
Chris got all smart and stuff.
You know how we do. But let's talk about the fourth point.
The fourth point on it is just sort of the sense of intrigue that's there. I mean, that's all in what we've been talking about in terms of the writing, but I don't know that every show really does have me guessing quite this much.
Right.
I mean, I don't really know what he's up to until I can see all of the pieces on the chessboard and how he's been maneuvering and what he's really been up to.
With something like Game of Thrones, you imagine that at any moment in time somebody could be deposed or killed or any of those things. Now here the stakes aren't like quite that high. Well, I mean they are for some people, but there's not a whole lot of killing going on. But there are still a little bit, but there are still some really, really high stakes in this show, and it feels like high stakes. It makes me know that I would never ever want to have a job in politics because it is so ruthless. I couldn't hang at all.
Oh yeah, I mean, you're talking about potentially he's going after at least the vice presidency, if not maybe the presidency eventually. And what's great is that when there is a death or a murder on the show, you feel the weight of it. You feel that being. This is as bad as it gets for what Frank is going to do. So I think it does establish that sort of sense of intrigue really well. It's almost too got a little bit of a feeling like a con movie because he's conning everyone, which I'm a big fan of.
Yeah.
But then that leads us to kind of one of the audience's, I think, favorite reasons to watch the show, and mine, which is the Frankisms.
Yeah, some people have called him, actually I think we called him an anti-hero in a piece yesterday, and everybody's like, hell no, he's a hero. And I think it's because he is really charming, he's really captivating. He breaks the fourth wall a lot, so you get a lot of really incisive dialogue that is directly related to the situation, which often it always leads to some really juicy dialogue.
Yeah, I think, the breaking of the fourth wall was one of those things that initially I think some people had some resistance to.
Yeah.
I really love it because I think that Kevin Spacey is great at it.
Yeah, he's good at delivering it. If you had somebody who wasn't as good at delivering it, it would fall flat, I think. But it really works.
This is Shakespearean. It's a soliloquy where he turns to the audience and tips the hat and lets us know what's going on in his head.
And there's another layer to it, too. He's telling you everything about this show is appearance. And so he's telling you how he is spinning the situation. But there's another layer to it where it's like he is not revealing all of himself either. And that is a beautiful dynamic in the show.
Absolutely. Well, those are just 5 of the reasons that we think that you should be watching House of Cards. If you didn't watch the first season, there's still time to kind of marathon it and then catch up for season 2. You can watch season 2 like we're probably going to this holiday Valentine weekend.
Yep.
Let us know what you think of House of Cards in the comments below.